What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be doing a little bit of an upper body workout. First we're going to start with some chest, then we're going to go on some back, and then we're going to finish with some shoulders. I need 2 exercises for each muscle group. We're going to run you through some of the staples that I think you guys should have in your upper body routines too. Before I start any upper body workout, I always warm up my rotator cuffs. And this one is my favorite, as I feel like it gets it nice and warm. It's a great way to reduce the risk of injury. What we're going to do, keep our upper arm parallel with the ground, and just let the dumbbells fall towards the floor and bring them back up. Make sure your elbows at a 90-degree angle and do between 20 and 30 reps. Once those are done, I like to just do some lateral raises. Make sure the blood's flowing through the deltoids before we get started on our chest. Reduce the risk of injury, make sure you're nice and warmed up before you do any of your workouts. What we're going to do here, it's called the champagne press. It's for the chest and the upper chest specifically. So what we're going to do, we'll take our bench to about 30 degrees, between 30 and 45 degrees. You're going to get a lighter dumbbell. You're not going to be able to do as much here as you would with a regular chest press, so don't play yourself. I'm going to do 15 kilos to start with. And what we're going to do is make sure that when we're setting up, with every chest exercise, when you're setting up, retract your scapula. What I mean by that is when you have your shoulder blades on the bench, keep your shoulder blades squeezed together. From there, keep the dumbbells together as well. And what you're going to do, you'll notice here when I drop them down, I'm going to bring the top of the dumbbell to my upper chest, and from here I'm going to press up. When we get to the top, I'm actually going to point my thumbs to the ceiling. When I point my thumbs to the ceiling, we're going to really activate that upper chest. Now I'm going to get you guys to watch a couple of reps, and you'll see when I get to the top of the range of motion, point to the ceiling and my upper chest is really activated. So this is where you'd usually finish, and then you really don't need to overload yourself with too much weight for this exercise. Just make sure you're doing it with great technique, slow and controlled. Getting that big squeeze at the top. But progressively overload yourself as well. So I'll start on 15. If I was going to do this in my own workout routine, I'd do 5 sets and I'd progressively move up in weight until I couldn't do more than about 8 reps. So rep range between 8 and 20, but it depends how many sets you're going to do. For myself, I like to do a lot of sets on an exercise that I know really works instead of just chopping and changing around my exercises. So what we're going to do now is going to be our mid chest and the whole pec basically. We're going to be doing a flat press. What we're going to be doing here is after we finish that flat press, we're going to stand up, come over to the rack and use a lighter weight to do some standing flies with a dumbbell. So we're going to bring the dumbbell across that chest in line with the opposite nipple with a slight bend in the elbow to really activate that lower chest as well. So bearing in mind that this will be done after a flat bench or a flat dumbbell press, or any other exercise for that matter. It's a good way just to keep the blood flowing through the chest, but also to hit that lower outer cut of the chest. Great for getting a good pump too. So just with what I've explained to you in the last 2 exercises, if you just did that for sets, between 5 and 7 sets, you'd have a great pump straight away. But bearing in mind, doing here, I'm going to get a little bit heavier, and then when we stand up, we superset with something a little bit lighter, just to keep the blood flowing through the chest. So for that, I tend to do, as a superset, I do 5 to 7 sets, and for each, I do between 8 and 15 reps. So I did mention before that we're going to be doing 2 exercises for both chest back and shoulders. What we're going to do here is like a hybrid between chest and back. We're going to do a pullover. So the pullover is done with a dumbbell this time. And I'm going to explain to you exactly how I do it, and then maybe you can try it in your own time. But the reason why we're doing this after our chest is because you can do it on chest day, but you can also do it on back day. It's just about how you're focusing on the muscles. So the mind to muscle connection is very important. So make sure when you're doing each exercise or every single rep, you're thinking about the muscle you're working, whether it be chest, buys, back, legs, whatever. Think about what you're working with every single rep. Make sure your mind to muscle connection is really strong. So we're going through this exercise now. I'm going to explain to you how I do it, why I do it, a certain way that I do, and then maybe you can try it in your own time. Before you go up in weight, don't try and be a hero. I just done a warm-up set before this one, and I do progressively move up in weight as I go through the sets. So what I like to do, even from the start, I'll teach you how I set it up. I sit the weight on my knee, come down and lean against the bench, get my back in position so my shoulder blades are on the bench, and you notice I'm going across the bench. A lot of people go with the bench, and I'm going to explain to you now the reason why. So when we're setting up and I'm actually in position ready to do my first rep, my hips are actually dipped nice and low. And the reason for that is so we can get a full stretch and a full range of motion through our lats, and then a big squeeze when we get to the top for our chest. So I'm going to show you now exactly how I do it, and you'll notice that the form and the technique that I use, very strict, controlled, and a big squeeze, a big stretch, and then a big squeeze. Flip the weight onto our chest, press upwards. You notice my feet quite close together. Make sure you activate your abs, keep your hips nice and low. Nice full stretch. And then a squeeze at the top. So engaging our lats at the bottom and then squeezing our chest at the top. And that it's an exercise that a lot of people don't utilize nowadays as much as they used to. I've seen Arnie do it numerous times through all Pump the Iron. Every video I've seen of him, he's always putting it in his routine. And to date, probably one of the best chests and very good back too. So, I mean, if it works for someone, pick up that shit, give it a try. It might not be for you, but the only way you're gonna find out is if you try it in yourself, try it in your own routine. Everything in bodybuilding is about trial and error. See if it works for you. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, scrap it, try something new. Very important one, which is a very staple exercise and it's quite standard, but the way I'm gonna do it here and the way that I'm gonna explain it to you is something that I did for years incorrectly. To be completely honest about it, I wasn't getting the engagement that I wanted and I was using too much of my bicep and not enough of my lats. So we're talking about the single arm row, and the way that I'm gonna do this and the way that I'm gonna show you is how you should correctly row. Whether you're going to say that one foot should be forward, you shouldn't be pulling off the rack, I don't care about your opinion on that. Let's just forget about that for a second. What I'm going to try and explain to you right now is when you're doing a row, try not to be pulling like this. Just to use a lightweight as an example, you see so many people doing a row like this, and they're pulling up and you're engaging too much of your bicep. I know that this is a lightweight, but it doesn't matter. What we're going to try and do is make it a row and pull back towards our hip. You notice the angle of my arm doesn't change so much. We're using our lat to pull and row instead of jamming it up and down like this. So that's not what we want. We want a nice full range of motion and to pull back past our hips using our lats. You get a far greater engagement doing this than what you will doing this stuff. So there's a little bit more weight now. Always do between 8 and 15 reps. My own personal experience, that's the way I'm able to keep a full round of physique all year round, between 8 and 15 reps, between 5 and 7 sets for everything. I'm going to do a set now, and you'll just notice that the form and the technique that I use isn't rowing up and down with our bicep, it's more of a pull and a row this way towards our hip. Another thing you'll notice, I start the rep actually in front of my body, and we get a full range of motion. We're bringing it right back. You notice my elbow is quite close to my torso as well. So from the front, we look like this. Opening that chest up, pulling it back, elbow nice and tight. That way we get maximum contraction of our lat. That is how you correctly do a single arm row.